Hello students, today just we have to discuss about redox reaction. I have taught you about four different types of reaction already, in which one was combination reaction, second was decomposition reaction, third was displacement, and fourth was double displacement reaction. So today we have to discuss about redox reaction. It is also known as reduction and oxidation reaction. So what is redox reaction? To know this, we have to or we should know what is oxidation and reduction, because without knowing what is oxidation and reduction, you can't understand redox reaction. So first of all, we will discuss about what is oxidation and what is reduction. Listen, in class 10 we have to study about oxidation and reduction on two bases, in which one is on the basis of oxygen and other is on the basis of hydrogen. So first of all, just we will start first basis, that is on the basis of oxygen, means oxidation on the basis of oxygen. So on the basis of oxygen, we have to discuss about what is oxidation and what is reduction. Listen, means we can say addition of oxygen. In short, we can say addition of oxygen is called oxidation, and removal of oxygen is called reduction. So since our topic is oxidation, so first of all just we will discuss about oxidation. Means those chemical reactions in which addition of oxygen takes place. Those chemical reactions in which addition of oxygen takes place are called oxidation reaction. Suppose that it is a substance, and in this way that you are seeing oxygen is adding here. So since addition of oxygen takes place here, so it will be called oxidation reaction. To understand this, just I am going to take an example. Suppose that you have this equation, N2 plus O2 gives 2NO. Means when nitrogen reacts with oxygen, then it gives nitric oxide. You are seeing here addition of oxygen takes place in this reaction. In nitrogen, addition of oxygen takes place. How will you say this? You are saying towards reactant side nitrogen is alone, but towards product side nitrogen is present with oxygen. So since in this reaction addition of oxygen takes place in nitrogen, so it will be called oxidation reaction. Now we will take other example. Means for a reduction. What is reduction? Those chemical reactions in which removal of oxygen takes place is called a reduction. So just I am going to take I am going to write here reduction. And to understand this, just I am going to draw a figure. This symbol tells us that removal of oxygen takes place here, and this symbol tells us that addition of oxygen takes place here. So since in this reaction addition of oxygen takes place, so it is the example of oxidation reaction. But here this symbol tells us that removal of oxygen takes place here, so it will be the example of reduction. How will you define? Those chemical reactions in which removal of hydrogen takes place, removal of oxygen takes place, because our basis is oxygen. So those chemical reactions in which removal of oxygen takes place is called a reduction. And to understand this, just we will take an example. Have you heard the name of mercury oxide, HgO? You are seeing here. When it is heated, then it breaks into Hg plus O2. Just we have to balance here in this way. You are seeing here, when Hg means mercury oxide is heated, then it breaks into mercury and oxygen. In reactant side, mercury and oxygen both are present with one another, means together. But towards product side, we are seeing here that mercury is alone. So here, a removal of oxygen takes place. Since in this reaction, a removal of oxygen takes place, so it will be the example of a reduction. So just we have seen on the basis of oxygen what is the definition of oxidation and reduction. Means those chemical reactions in which addition of oxygen takes place are called oxidation reaction, and those chemical reactions in which removal of oxygen takes place are called a reduction. Now we will discuss oxidation and reduction on the basis of hydrogen. So just I am going to erase it. And now we will discuss oxidation and reduction on the basis of hydrogen. Here just I am going to write hydrogen. So what is our basis? Hydrogen, on the basis of hydrogen. So how will you define oxidation on the basis of hydrogen? Those chemical reactions in which a removal of hydrogen takes place are called oxidation. This symbol tells us about the removal of hydrogen. Here you are seeing hydrogen is removed. Okay, so we can define oxidation that those chemical reactions in which a removal of hydrogen takes place are called oxidation reaction. And to understand this, just we will take an example. You have to take an example of methane. When methane is heated, burning is other thing and heating is other thing. If you will burn the methane, then it gives carbon dioxide and water. But when you heat the methane, then it breaks into carbon and hydrogen. So we are seeing here, towards the reactant side, hydrogen and carbon both are present simultaneously. But towards the reactant side, carbon is alone. It means removal of hydrogen takes place from the methane, and since in this reaction the removal of hydrogen takes place, so it will be the example of oxidation. Now on the basis of hydrogen, what is reduction? Just we will discuss. I am going to write here reduction. What is a reduction? Those chemical reactions in which addition of hydrogen takes place are called a reduction. For example, just I am going to write an example and a chemical equation. You can write H2 plus Cl2 gives 2HCl. Here you are seeing towards the reactant side, chlorine is alone, but towards product side, chlorine is present with hydrogen. Means it tells us that addition of hydrogen takes place in chlorine. So since in this reaction addition of hydrogen takes place, so it will be the example of a reduction reaction. So on the basis of hydrogen, we can define oxidation that those chemical reactions in which a removal of hydrogen take place are called oxidation reaction, and those chemical reactions in which addition of hydrogen takes place are called a reduction reaction. This symbol tells us that addition of hydrogen takes place here. So you are seeing here what is oxidation and reduction reaction. Now just we'll discuss about redox reaction. What is redox reaction? Those chemical reactions in which oxidation and reduction both take place simultaneously are called a redox reaction. And to understand this, just we will take an example, and you will see here that oxidation and reduction both are going simultaneously. For example, just we will take this example zinc oxide plus carbon, and they give zinc plus carbon monoxide. Here you are seeing towards the reactant side, zinc and oxygen both are present simultaneously, but towards product side, zinc is alone. It tells us that a removal of oxygen takes place here, and you know a removal of oxygen is called a reduction. So a reduction of zinc oxide takes place here, and we can write it that zinc oxide gets reduced into zinc. But if we take the example of carbon, then you are seeing here towards reactant side carbon is alone, but towards product side carbon is present with oxygen, and it tells that addition of oxygen takes place with carbon. And since addition of oxygen takes place here, so we can say carbon gets oxidized into carbon monoxide, means this. Okay, so since in this reaction oxidation and reduction both take place simultaneously, so it will be the example of a redox reaction. One thing, reduction means the substance which gets reduced is called oxidizing agent, and the substance which gets oxidized is called reducing agent. In this reaction, carbon will be the example of reducing agent and zinc oxide will be the example of oxidizing agent. So in this way we are seeing here how does oxidation and reduction both take place simultaneously here. Okay, for today it is enough. In our next day just we will discuss about what is rancidity, what is corrosion, and some more example of redox reaction.